Ladies and gentlemen, we have a legend joining the show, Rick Brim. Welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. Thank you. I'm in Soho in London. I was meant to be in New York, but you guys can't deal with snow, so planes can't land.
No, we cannot. No, we cannot. But I'm glad that we're talking
Yes.
because I think first and foremost, people need to understand that we were talking beforehand. You have 170. That's 170 Cannes Lions roughly in your career.
Yeah, apparently so. I did a podcast with them last year, and they told me that. So I'm not going to argue with their data. I don't physically have them, and I couldn't tell you what
No.
they were for. But apparently, that's what I'm credited on.
So, and then I think I saw you have like 70 plus D&AD awards. If you have that many Cannes Lions, you can just assume that like the Clios, the One Shows, you're heavily awarded in this industry. So, talk to me right away. Like, what is your creative mindset? Like when you started your advertising career, were you award hunting? Because I know some people have to do that to make a career, to get like a visa, or let's say they're built for awards. Has that like been your mentality, or is it you just found it from other paradigms and thinking? Give me your perspective on this.
I think absolutely not. I don't think. I think so. But I think I've never really hunted them. I put a modicum of importance on them. I think they're exceptionally they're great to get a sort of barometer of what the industry's up to and what looks good in the industry that year. But I think it becomes a bit dangerous if you actively go out and I mean we saw what happened last year. I think you've got to be really careful. And I think I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of talented people, both in creative partners and in creatives that I've got to work with, and strategists and throughout my career. And I think I've just been kind of lucky and had some great clients and had a lot of fun doing it. And I think that's the main thing. I think first and foremost, you've got to sort of aim just to do great work, whatever shape and form that looks like. Just try and be interesting, try and do good work, and awards will follow. I think you can smell when people do things for awards. Like we're about to enter like silly season where every week there'll be a new groundbreaking thing that no one's ever seen and sent the internet wild. Because we're nearing the deadline, and all of a sudden we'll start seeing a flurry of work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we will.
I
yes,
think
we
some
will.
of the best work's already been done this year.
Yeah. No, it's it's interesting on what wins these award shows versus what gets covered versus what's effective, and that's a whole other conversation. But I think just for our listeners to know that the industry views you as a legend, as somebody that is creative, is important. So whether or not you care or agree with it, it is the truth, and you have the accolades to prove it, which is fantastic. And we're going to try to understand how you got here today.
Yeah, I definitely cared. I'm very privileged to be in this position, to have been in that position. But I think yeah, awards can send you the other way a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Today, you are the founder and CCO of Ace of Hearts, but not too long ago, you kind of established, in my little bit of research, I've got some ad nerds in my circle, our creative council, if you will, the top of the top people in the industry that are way more brilliant than I am. One of them said that you really made Adam&EveDDB the shop that it's known for today. And that is one of the best shops, I would say, in history. And predominantly what comes to the top of my mind is the work on John Lewis. And that's probably the easiest thing to cherry pick from your career. But for those that don't know, the John Lewis ad is the most anticipated holiday commercial, one of the most anticipated commercials every single year. We covered it. It got millions of impressions just this past year in the short time that we've been covering the ad industry. But before we get into Ace of Hearts, tell me about like what was the thesis? What was your summary of working at Adam and Eve DDB? What was your role? What did you do there? That will help us understand where you're at today.
So I joined there with my creative partner at the time, Dan Fisher, in 2013 to 2012. And we were working into the founder, Ben Priest. So John Lewis had already established itself as a little bit of of a holiday blockbuster, especially in the UK. So they've done an ad called The Long Wait, where the boy waits to give the present. They've done The Bear in the Hair with the Lily Allen track on it, and we were the one we got the brief the next year as a creative team, and it was a pretty. I mean, it's a pretty daunting brief to get that. Um, and we didn't we there was another piece of work on the table, and they were making that, and we kind of didn't want that to be made, so we just carried on and carried on and carried on, and eventually we made a spot called Monty the Penguin, and that's the first one that really took it from sort of in the UK to kind of more on a global stage. Social media was kicking off way more, and it took it way from that sort of UK advert to slightly more of a bit of content on the global stage. And at the same time, there was a brand here called Harvey Nichols. We were doing some work on that, and we did another holiday spot for that called Sorry I Spent It on Myself, and what that did is it just started off this sort of momentum at the agency, and there was some other work, amazing work that was happening for Marmite and different things, but it started this momentum at the agency. We got Can Agency of the Year, which was an amazing thing, and I don't think anybody really expected it, and it really taught me the sort of lesson of that momentum is everything. That
Mhm.
sort of, if you, a couple of pieces of work can take you from sort of great agency to and getting that momentum is key to. And you look at any agency that's flying, big, small, independent owned, whatever, they all have this momentum at the core of it, and we got that, and we sort of rode that wave. And with that comes better briefs and different clients wanting to talk to you, and with that comes amazing creative teams that want to work with you, and so it's self-fulfilling, and 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 it can happen from nowhere. It can happen from a
Mhm.
piece of work that you think is okay, and then it just catches fire, and then but when once you're in it, you've got to ride it, and you've got to keep on feeding it. And I think my biggest shame, and the thing that I think I regret the most, well, obviously everybody regrets it, was COVID, because what that did is it just massively stopped everything. Anybody who had any momentum just stopped. And then it was a lot better for the smaller indies to come and start to flourish there. And then you've got the birth of agencies like Mischief and Gut, and they just sort of flourished off the back of that. Whereas I think the big agencies really struggle, because you to get momentum back into a big agency is quite hard.
What
And
was you? I'm
yeah,
curious. Momentum is everything on a macro level. If you're thinking about the agency itself,
yeah,
but also on the micro level of your career, it's going
yeah.
to help you ascend in your career as well. What was like your specific part in, let's say, that first brief that established the momentum? What was your role at the time when you got the John Lewis
So we were
brief and
just a
the team?
team. So we were DDB had just merged with Adam and Eve, and we were the first team that the then CCO Ben Priest hired, and we'd spoken to him over the years of when Adam and Eve was very small to selling to DDB. And his brief to us was just come in and be sort of greedy with all the work, and 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 write as much as you can. So at the time, their four briefs. Every agency has their briefs, and their four briefs were VW. It was Marmite, and it was, which is this weird like yeast spread.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's gross, but some people love it.
yeah. Love it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And John Lewis and Harvey Nichols, and so we just sort of buckled down, Dan and I, and just made sure that we wanted to get a decent piece of work out for each one of those. So when we first started, we were writing, and then in 2015, uh, then I took over as ECD
Got it.
in 2015. So then started a lot more of shaping um, the work, whereas before that I was writing the work and then shaping from about 2015.
Got it. Got it. When does the Elton John Lewis spot come out? Because I think that's my favorite of all the spots.
So that was 2019, 2018. And it's an interesting one, that, because because when you've got a brief like John Lewis, you instinctively set rules and boundaries, and it's got to be an original story. We can't use celebrities. We can't use this. We can't do that. And the team on that, and Mike, who are now running Adam and Eve, just sort of came in and said, "I know we're not allowed to do this, but what if we don't tell our story and we tell the story of Elton John, and we do use celebrity being Elton John?" And it felt right. And it was at the time when he was doing Rocket Man was being made.
Good timing.
And he was on a real sort of run of it.
Mhm.
Um and actually the old founder, but like, somebody knew somebody who knew somebody who got to him personally, and he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." Like, we'd used his music in the past. We had a bit of a relationship with him. We'd use Tiny Dancer. We'd use your song in the past. And yeah, he came on board, and it was a real sort of once in a lifetime job, that, because
How do you feel about it? Because
I love
it
it. It's
did
one of
it
my favorites.
okay, good, good, good. Because I know it broke the rules. Like you had the parameters, you had the mandatories,
Yeah, I
but
loved it
you
for that
allowed
reason.
okay, good, good.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you like it. Like, everybody is, it's funny. Everybody every year has different favorites.
Yeah.
So we did one which is called Man on the Moon, that Kim Gehrig did, and at the time we got absolutely lambasted. It was too emotional. It was too cryy. It was too. And then every year people would go, when one came out, "Oh, it's not as good as Man on the Moon." It's like, well, you fucking hated Man on the Moon. Sorry, I don't know if I swear.
Yeah, you can
You
swear.
hated Man on the Moon when it came out. So what you find out is the public's very fickle.
Let's talk about that. The public reaction. How is it making ads in the UK? For the UK audience, what is it like? Are they more cynical, skeptical towards ads that they're seeing? Are they like compared to the US? What's your view on this?
Um, the US are way more forgiving, I will say. From my little knowledge, and from having friends, very good friends, who it's really funny. Every year I take the team out for a beer and go, "Right, okay, this is what's going to happen. John Lewis is going to land, and for that day, it's going to be the best thing the world has ever seen. And then something will come out the next day, and you'll go home, John Lewis. There's a new kid." And it was the same thing. And then it would be plateau. And then we had a supermarket here called Sainsbury's, used to do really big ads, and they did that World War One football thing, and then that would come out a week later, because everybody's timing were fixed, and that would always win, whether it was better or worse. And sometimes it was better, and sometimes it was worse, but it would always win because it came after John Lewis, and people were bored of talking about John Lewis, and you'd go on this roller coaster of sort of emotions, of it being the best thing that's ever been seen, to the worst thing that's ever been seen, to sort of, "Oh, it's a bit boring now," to "It's the worst thing that's ever been seen," to the best thing. And so the British public are very much yeah, they long for it. They really wait for it. They waited for it. I'm not so much anymore. They waited for it, and that people would try and guess the track. And on Elton, we had a mole on set who sold the whole story to one of the tabloids, and so we had to get Apple, the security, in to have people's phones taped. And I mean, it's exciting. It was really, really, when it was at its height, it was really, really
Yeah,
exciting to be part of, because you were
it's
front
wild.
page news, and the minute it landed, you're on all the morning shows. Everybody had an opinion on it, and that was good when it landed, and it was good when it landed, and it was like, meh. That was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
How many of the years that you were there from 2013 to 2025? So you're like there for like 12 years. I would
Yeah.
say how many of them were a major flop in that first reaction?
I don't think any were a major flop. Well, for a start, you're judged against yourself.
Yes.
There's two things. You're judged against the year that's gone before, the years that have gone before, and then you're judged against the other work. I don't think there was any that was a major flop. There was one that was a bit confusing. People are like, what the hell's going on? Which was the monster under the bed. That people were a little bit like, oh, I don't get that.
Mhm.
But then again, on that one, I thought the music was one of my favourites, which was "Golden Slumbers" by the Beatles by Elbow. So for me, that's the music on that was
Mhm.
excellent.
Yeah.
And then the ad was it was a little bit confusing.
How do you
Um,
deal? Because my question is, there there's a lot of pressure in on the John Lewis ads, and then there's a lot of pressure on Super Bowl ads,
yeah,
and everybody's going to have a take on these. And for those that don't know, the John Lewis ads are to promote the retail store in the UK. It's
yeah.
like a Macy's, right? But I guess like how do you deal with like how do you tell the team to like, hey, relax. Everybody's gonna have an opinion. We know it's good. Uh what do you do as a coach in this scenario?
You take them out for a beer and tell them that it's going to be absolutely sort of like a proper roller coaster of
Oh,
emotions, and don't read Twitter at the time, and don't go online, and don't read socials, and don't. There was one year that I really, because people like it can get pretty nasty out there, and because you're the tallest poppy, and whatever's going on at the time, people would have pretty horrific comments. I mean, I'm not talking just like, do you like the ad or not like the ad? You were talking really, really bad comments, and I had to stop reading that sort of stuff.
it's
Your
hard.
instinct is to go, yeah, because there's some pretty nasty people out there.
Mhm.
And it's a Christmas ad, and really, you're that bored?
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, you just dealt with it, and certain teams dealt with it better than others, and
yeah.
This episode is brought to you by The Shipyard, which is a full service marketing and communications agency, ladies and gentlemen. They engineer brand love as a measurable business force, building brands designed to spark, hold, and scale across culture and channels. From brand strategy and identity to creative development, digital innovation, media, performance marketing, and public relations, the Shipyard aligns every discipline to fight apathy and atrophy and create an unshakable presence over time. With coordinated strength across owned, earned, and paid ecosystems, the Shipyard helps brands adapt, endure, and perform under pressure so they are not only seen, but known and returned to. At the Shipyard, brand love is engineered to last, delivering integrated marketing, advertising, and communications built for long term impact. If you want to learn more, visit theshipyard.com, where they have coordinated strength and unshakable results.
And
but
it's a
it's not
privilege,
the
right?
easy part. Yeah, it's
It's
a
a
privilege. But it's like I look at and I look at what we're doing now, and eh, I think our industry at its worst has become really glorified colouring in, like very expensive colouring in, and I think at its best it can like fundamentally change how business operates, and how creativity is such a powerful business tool. And I think we sometimes get lumbered in the sidelines of being just like glorified coloring in, and like, oh, it's not serious. Which if you look at the most recent example, John Lewis changed that business. And Bevo, who's the joint strat in this, can fundamentally tell you that because of the advertising, X amount of incremental billions were made. And actually, you look at the Anthropic work from the Super Bowl. That is creativity being used as a weapon, as a business tool, a proper business tool. And you've got Sam Altman putting out a comment as a response to his work. And I think that's what John Lewis taught me, is the power of what we can do, and the power of when creativity is used properly, how that can really affect business.
Yeah. And yeah, props to the CMOs, right? Like that understand that have a
Yeah, absolutely.
strategy and put the brief to the agency that will take those creative risks. And I think
Absolutely.
that's something that's really understated. It's like these CMOs are putting their ass on the line to say, we're going to spend all this money on one ad leading up to the holiday season. It better work. And the CEOs are like, the CEO is like, it better fricking work,
Uh,
and taking that risk, because those CMOs can get fired at a snap of the finger. It seems like every two years they're getting replaced.
yeah,
So a lot of pressure
yeah,
on them.
and yeah, it's again, you look at the Super Bowl this year, and you could see the CMOs that took the risk, and you saw the
Hmm.
CMOs that just hid behind celebrities. Oh, we've got so and so, therefore we're cool.
Yeah. 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 So, and this will get into what you're doing today, but what has been like your creative leadership style at Adam and Eve DDB throughout your whole career? How do you lead your freaking teams? Because you can say creativity is a business tool. We know this stuff in theory, but
Yeah,
like, what are you actually doing? Like, are you doing like all company meetings? Are you making sure, or do you lead by giving the senior teams the best briefs, or do you do open briefs? Like, what has been your philosophy that's been the most effective as a creative leader?
I think being very present, being really present, being also not always knowing the answer. I think that's really important. I think showing a bit of vulnerability that you may be in this position of running the agency or blah blah blah, but not knowing the answer allows people to try and solve things, and if you're promoting that within the team, I think that's really important. I think there's too many people that I've come across, and we've hired teams that just want to come in with solutions, and I actually sometimes don't want solutions. I kind of want to come in and I want to see that we've really struggled with this, but we think this could be interesting. We think this, so it's been really open to that sort of thing. And yeah, I know this sounds really glib and it sounds a bit lame, but if you actually look at what we do as a living, if you actually look and I've got friends who work in recruitment, I've got friends who are like every single sort of, it's a lot of fun what we do. It should be a lot of fun, and you can really see it. Like when you see pieces of work, you know that they've laughed, it's been intense, it's been this, but they've had a lot of fun doing it, and you can really tell that in the work. You can smell that in yeah, you can smell it in the work, and so yeah, a lot of it's that. A lot of it's not taking it too seriously, and also hierarchy, I think, is a killer. Uh,
That's interesting. I think it's like it's kind of counterintuitive as a creative leader, having a C in your title, a chief of some sort,
yeah,
you would imagine that that person would be all knowing and have the strategy and know the best idea right away and come off strong and lead the team to victory. But it's counterintuitive to say that, to walk into a room, even with clients. I'm assuming you do this too. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah.
this was a tough one. Like, it's a hard problem for us. We thought about this for, you know, days on end, weeks on end, and this is what we believe is the best idea. Like, to be that vulnerable is smart.
Yeah, it's not having an opinion, it's not having a solution, but it's going, it's having that humanity, and also I don't believe in the dry ice of this industry. I think sometimes we can be too what's performative. I think we can be too sort of like, look how smart we are. Boom! Look at that. I truly believe that if you've come to an agency as a partner, a client partner, you need to be in the fold. You need to be in the mucky bits as well as the glamorous bits, as well as the fun bits, as well as because everybody needs to feel an ownership of it. Only when people feel ownership of work do you care more. I'm a really big believer in that. And that comes to the sort of hierarchy thing as well. Like the teams often like. every agency. I want to be a creative director. I want to be an associate creative director. I want to be a deputy associate, and none of it matters. And that's very hard when you're sat there with a C in front of your name to go, oh, don't worry about that. And people want to see progression, and that's a tricky one. But trying to convince people of like all of that, really, all that sort of thing. I know it feels like you're progressing on LinkedIn, but you're only really progressing if you can turn around and go, I did this, 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 and this, and you're associated with great work. That's all it is. And you'll progress if you do that. And I truly believe that. And I know I sit from a position with having a C in front of my name and being very privileged to have been in some great rooms. But I think that's really important. It's almost like be careful of what you chase.
That's good advice. That's good advice. I want to pivot now to like what you're up to today. So around a year ago, 9 months ago, you started your own ad agency, and this caught the press. We covered it. The major ad trades covered it as well. It's called Ace of Hearts here. My first question to you is why the name Ace of Hearts?
Oh, it's so difficult. It is so difficult, especially when you've got agencies out there with such brilliant names and like Mischief and Gut and like it's there. So we agonized about it. And there's some very funny stories that I can tell you, but I won't because that involves swear words. But we kept on coming back to it from a sort of, it's the luckiest card. We've not got any card paraphernalia anywhere. There's no sort of, our reception isn't full of Ace of Hearts, or we don't go anywhere near the graphics of it. But it's the luckiest card. It's the highest card, and it's sort of, we want clients to win. Like we want people we want partners that we work with to win. We don't just want to be a creative sort of art house place. We want to do work that gets them to win, and sort of like work that has emotion in it, and work that has sort of, and using that our if we have a shtick, which we wear really lightly, because I don't believe agencies. I find agencies with shticks a bit sort of like, I find them a little bit cringe. But if we did have one, it's like putting creativity at the heart of business. It's like it is that thing of like putting emotion, putting creativity, and it's not just about ad shaped output.
Got it. Yeah, it makes sense. I
So
figured by asking that question, it would lean into the ethos of the agency brand, because
yeah,
you're a conceptual person.
yeah, yeah. But it's like naming a kid. Like they've got to be able to be prime minister, and somebody's going to want to sleep with them. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to be cool, whilst also somebody at some big company somewhere saying get Ace of Hearts on their phone. Like we toyed with a naughty corner, and we're like, oh, we've got it, and then it was just like, oh no, we sound like idiots. Like,
and and I guess then, like, first clients, ways of working, how do you want to build this? Like, what do you want to be known for and known as?
I think I'm really skeptical about to come out with any sort of highfalutin sort of like, this is what the future is, and you've been doing it wrong for so long. You've been doing it. I don't want to do that, because I think the industry is moving so quickly that anybody that claims to know where it's going are lying. Nobody does. So we've got to have the right attitude to sort of just go like storming in there and hoping for the best.
There's one of my favorite agency positionings is like, what we do is nothing new. There's an agency that says that.
Yeah.
It's just another good ad agency trying to make good work, trying, like, nothing too different here. It seems like, though, like, that's so important, that understanding of like, we might not know what will, like, we're not sure what AI or what the future of advertising will look like. We just want to be in it. It seems
Yes,
like that's what you guys are going for.
If we're all here to articulate it, that's sort of where we'll go. And I look, and it's all right to look into. It's all right to look to the past. It's all right to look to the days where Steve Jobs' sort of right hand man was Lee Clout, where creative thinking was really integral to businesses. We spoke to loads of founders in the grey area when we weren't allowed to work. Founders of companies, not ad agencies, and you spoke to them and they described themselves as entrepreneurs first and foremost. And if you ask them what their greatest attribute was, it's like, well, the creativity they bring to business. And you're like, well, surely that's what it is. If you look at companies that, I mean, I don't know, like Skims. I mean, obviously it's got the Kardashians involved, but it looks at things different, and it started from a different thing that I could name loads, but so that's why we want to go. Where we're looking a little bit to the past as well for what we did. We were there at the CEO level. We weren't just there at the CMO level or the junior CMO level, which is sometimes we were there. There's an amazing story about a chocolate bar in the UK about the founder of BBH went to the factory, and it was the Cadbury's factory, and they were turning the caramel machine off, and it just sort of like dripped for 2 minutes before it turned off properly. And he just turned around to the client and said, "You should coat that in chocolate and call it the Curly Whirly," and they did. And I love that. That's seeing something that could have been, and they turned it into a business thing. They turned it into a product. They use creative thinking so, and it's a bit of a tangent but that's the kind of work, that's the kind of thing that I get excited about rather than, oh, there's a lovely, great big stonking TV ad.
I love it.
I
I
get
love
excited
it.
about that as well.
No, I understand. I'm excited for you guys. And like looking at, your career and what you're going to do at Ace of Hearts and what you've done, there's somebody that's listening right now that is trying to get their first job or start their career in advertising, which is near and dear to my heart because that's why we started Breaking Entering.
Yeah.
What is so valuable. What would you say to somebody just starting their advertising career in this business that you wish you knew that will help them have a long, healthy, successful career like Rick Brim?
Don't worry
Don't.
too much. Like, don't worry too much. Like, just constantly question things. Be curious. Don't. I think there's this is going back to the title thing I was talking about. There's such a need to be now. I need it now, and I need to get the. Just go out and be interesting. Go out and do interesting things, and and do interesting things that you find interesting. Not you're trying to do interesting things that you find somebody else might do interesting. The worst thing I would have in any agency I worked in, well, what will Rick think? Because that just bottlenecks. I think when you're writing for the creative leader, it's wrong. I want to see what somebody that comes into the industry has to say and finds interesting, because I know what I find interesting, but I know what I find interesting. I want other things, and I want other perspectives, and I want other. So don't ever write or do anything for anybody else. Only do things that make you feel that you find interesting.
I love that. What was
That's
that on? That was a great answer. I want to press it just a little bit. Was there a moment in your career where you kind of took that advice, you applied it, and it worked really well for you? Maybe early on, middle of your career. Tell me about how you applied that to your career.
we Dan and I worked at some good agencies, and we learned off some good people, but they weren't the sexier. They weren't the ones. And we were an agency for quite a while, and we getting really frustrated. And then there was a real moment where we were just like, we'll go out and find clients. We'll go out and do work we want to do. And we sort of created this mini agency within the agency. So we'd do our day to day, and then we'd go off and we designed this shoe shop for a shoe designer. We went called charities and said, "Do you want some work?" Like we became really entrepreneurial, because it was our way of solving this. We weren't. It was a little bit like a lobster pot. We weren't getting out, and we just needed the work to be able to. And that was a real moment where we were sort of stopping, and it's going sort of full circle to your thing. Do you write things for awards? I think before that we probably did write things for awards. We wanted to do this, and we wanted to get a lion, and we wanted to do this, and then we did that, and we just did work we loved, and actually, funnily enough, that's when the awards started coming. And I think this is what I'm going back to the awards thing. I'm very privileged to have been stood on the stages I've stood on. But I think you have to have a very healthy view on it. If you're a slave to writing that kind of work, all you'll do is write that kind of work, and you'll end up is being in the melee of that kind of work. Where things really stand out is when people just write what they think the right answer is, and when they're true to what they think is great. I think one of the best pieces of work that one can ever is Dumb Ways to Die. And it won everything the year before we were there with Harvey Nichols. And the best, my 9-year-old, about 3 years ago, I heard him singing this song, and it was Dumb Ways to Die. It's disappeared. It's you wouldn't have heard me sing, and he'd come across it on TikTok or he'd come across it somewhere, and his mates were sending it around. And that's a true thing of what we do. Like, it's endured. I mean, he was born. He wasn't even born when it came out. He was born the next year, and it had endured, and it had found its life for itself again. And the creativity of it was still current and still compelling, and it was doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is teach kids about road safety.
Mhm.
And I think that's when, going back to what we want to do here, what this industry is when it's its best. That's when it's at its best. Not they've done some clever thing that's 10 people in the room in south of France like clap themselves silly about. I think that's, and every year you get one of those. Every year you get something where you're like, holy moly, that's it. I think this year's is Anthropic. I think that is an exceptional piece of work.
The whole brand campaigns that they've been doing, or just the Super Bowl?
The Super Bowl,
Yeah.
where I just think it was so timely, and it was an ad, but it was a weapon, and it was brilliant.
Mhm. Well, they're good. That agency, the London-based
All right.
CCO over there as
They're
well.
all right.
Yeah, the London folks produce some good creatives, it seems like. Rick, Brim, thank you so much for coming on. How can people reach out to you if they have questions, they want to work with you or work for you?
Absolutely. It's richard@aceofhearts.co.
Wishing you all the best.
The co bit, but aceofhearts.com was gone.
Wonderful. All is good.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming on.
please. And to you guys, I think what you're doing to the focus on getting people into the industry is exceptional.
Thank you. We're
And,
trying our damn best here, and we want to make it fun for everybody. Like,
yeah,
you know, we want to celebrate and uplift everybody in our own way, and we make some mistakes along
but you're
the way.
definitely doing that. You definitely, it feels really exciting what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, we will be in touch. Thank you again, Rick.
Pleasure.